Hi, this is Cheryl with the Cut at Home Design Team. Today I have some fun guy cards. These are made using Sizzix and Tim Holtz dies. Let me show you first the dies. This first one is called Dapper. It's one of the Bigz dies, so it's one of the thick ones. So you'll need to have your Sizzix Big Shot or your Spellbinders Platinum in order to run this effectively. But it's very cool. It just gives us this image. All the pieces are usable on this one, both the positive and the negative. So I have one of the negatives left over here, and I'll show you that in just a moment, how I used both. The other die that I'm using today is also a Tim Holtz Alterations by Sizzix. This one's called Stitched Rectangles, I believe. Stitched Rectangles. And so we've got the rectangles that have a little bit of stitching detail on them, as well as some borders that can be used with them. So it's a really nice set. Now I've combined them together. Here I've used, let me show you, positive and negative. So what I did was I took my black cardstock and I ran it through the Dapper die, and I cut out these pieces here that you see on this card. This is what's left over, the negative side of things. With both of these, first of all with the negative side, I took my largest Thinlits die here, the stitched rectangle, and I placed it over top, and I'm going to show you on this craft colored one, and ran that back through the die cutting machine. You can see it's a pretty tight fit here, but it will actually fit on there. So that gave me the stitch detail on this one, and again this is the negative. You can see, you know, underneath is the detail. The only thing I did with this was then to add some of my striped paper to make a contrast tie, and I used a little glossy accents here at the buttons, added a little Happy Father's Day. So very, very simple card. Using the positive pieces, I used my craft paper, again my largest of the stitched rectangle dies. I created the craft panel here. I've got a black layer underneath. I laid everything out. Here I was able to just tighten up the space a little bit so it fits just a little better on there. Ran some red paper through using my Dapper die to cut out the red tie just for some fun and contrast. But everything is glued into place on here. Again, I added a little glossy accents at the buttons for some accents and added my sentiment. So here's just another set. Again, done similarly. With this one, I cut the pieces from the craft cardstock. So this is the positive using the die cut pieces. This is the negative using what's left over. So you can see whichever way you do it, it's very, very usable. So it's kind of a fun die to work with. Something simple always works for guy cards. You can use it for a number of things. Father's Day is coming up, so I had Dad on my mind. So I just used a simple dad sentiment on this one. To do that, I used the Tim Holtz Ideology label letters. These are fun. If you haven't used them, you just pick the letters you need and spell out the word that you need to have there. For this one, I wrote a simple sentiment, love you, Dad. I used my white Jelly Roll pen. I find that it's really nice and opaque on these dark colors, and so that, you know, leads to a nice result as well. Going back to my earlier ones, this one I stamped a quick Happy Father's Day. I happened to have a small sentiment and some white chalk ink, and so that worked out fairly well. It's just a little bit off kilter there, but that's okay. Sometimes the imperfections make things better. And then last but by no means least, on this guy, I used the Tim Holtz Ideology Small Talk. There's a lot of sayings in this Small Talk book, both in white as well as in black. They're the same sayings that are repeated on both sides. I find something that appeals to me. Most times I end up cutting it like this. Attitude is everything in the book, you know, runs right next to one another. Excuse me. I wanted to separate it out a little bit. You can separate it even further, you know, cut the is away from the everything. So these sentiments are really fun to use. There's another one that just has different words. So these little things that Tim Holtz has available in the Ideology line are really, really helpful in finishing those cards and making them look really good. episode. Today I'm here with the Sizzix Tim Holtz Alterations Dapper die. It's a Bigz die. The Sizzix Tim Holtz Alteration stitched rectangles. These are Thinlits and will work in virtually any machine. Thanks for watching. Bye.